there seems to be a little bit of a social media tit for tat between possibly the Waleses and the Sussexes. Meghan launched her Instagram page, well, officially kind of on January the 1st, was it, when she was riding in the sand? And she's many videos in the last couple of weeks, particularly from Invictus. But William and Catherine seem to be doing a lot more. We saw this week the sketches that the princes, that are drawn and they put them on. We've seen videos of Catherine on a school bus. We've seen William with a social media influencer, a TikTok star just a couple of weeks ago. And on Valentine's Day, we had William and Catherine looking cosy for Valentine's a little heart, and then Harry and Meghan sharing a kiss on Meghan's Instagram page. Is there a subtle war going on between them online?
Well, you could put the kiss down to the fact they're 8 hours behind us in California, so they probably were going to do it anyway. It could be, but no, I think that's just it's flim-flam, really. I mean, social media. Look at it one day, it's gone the next, you know, and that's how I feel about it, you know. And the fact, you know, George's drawings weren't very good. I didn't think he didn't look like he's going to have an art career in front of him anyway.
Well, they wouldn't tell us who had drawn what. We had to work it out ourselves.
There's one that's definitely much better than the others, which I suppose you'd assume is George because he's older, but it did sort of feel... I could imagine it being Charlotte. I don't know, you can't be certain, really, can you? But I think there was 100% definitely a massive rivalry between the Sussexes and the Waleses, dating back to when they were sharing a private office at Kensington Palace. And this sort of thing, you would absolutely cut and dry say 100% massive rivalry. They would want to be competing and outdoing each other. So there probably is a bit of that. I mean, it's hard to move past that. I'm sure that there is an instinct to want to outdo the other couple, whether it's the Waleses or the Sussexes. I also think with Meghan, perhaps there is like the pressure on her to make her project successful may mean that actually that is what's at the forefront of her mind, that actually she's fighting to get back into a space that she'd largely given up. And it's quite interesting that Instagram is her social media channel because most of her fans are on Twitter. You know, that is the real core of where the Sussex squad operate.
They were once symbols of a modern monarchy, Princess Kate and Meghan Markle. Grace and glamour in equal measure. But behind palace walls, a rivalry brewed. And now, insiders say, it wasn't just about them. It was about the brothers too. Arthur Edwards, the Sun's legendary royal photographer, has seen it all. From Diana's sparkle to Kate's evolution, he speaks with rare authority. And even he couldn't ignore the tension, when Meghan entered the royal frame. It wasn't just a clash of personalities, it was a fracture of family identity. Royal correspondent Jack Royston doesn't pull punches. His analysis reveals the deeper power dynamic. Kate, the seasoned royal who plays by the palace book. Meghan, the outsider who rewrote her own rules. Beneath their smiles, a silent duel for relevance, narrative, and legacy. But the feud wasn't confined to the women. Royston suggests Prince Harry and Prince William are just as locked in this rivalry.
And Meghan hasn't chosen to make Twitter her space, she's chosen Instagram, which shows a slight bit of disconnect between her and her fan base.
Really interesting point, that, actually. Sorry, carry on. But
no, I mean it is. She is trying to exist. Instagram is great for celebrities, and celebrities love it. It gives them a slightly more positive space in which they can just, you know, their post is king. Like, that is the key thing about Instagram. You post the picture, anybody who comments underneath it is subordinate to your original post. Whereas on Twitter, no one post has priority over another. Your entry into the discussion can be any post in a thread. You might come in at post number 27 because somebody you follow is throwing mud at Meghan. Whereas on Instagram, your entry is always the celebrity's post. So that's probably why she's done it. But it reflects the fact that she is now fighting to get into a very competitive space where all the influencers live, all the influencers are fighting for audience. And actually, you know, she would be well advised to forget any competition with Kate and William, because the people she's going to be competing in are the other celebrities who are all also trying to sell their products too. So that's going to be where the real competition lies for Meghan.
The debacle around this isn't going to help that. The debacle around the Mallorca coat of arms and this business in New York isn't going to help her credibility, I don't think.
I think the biggest unexploded bomb here for Meghan is this company in New York. You know, the Spanish town is embarrassing. They're kind of saying it looks like Meghan's ripped off their logo. It's a bit awkward, but they're not trading on the American market. So there's no way that Spanish town, I don't think, can actually sink this rebrand. But this company in New York, if they file a legal challenge here and say, look, we are as ever, you're going to sink us, because, you know, she, in Google search terms, she's going to blow them out of the water. You know, they'll be buried. She's going to absolutely bury them on Google. And if they challenge it to try to protect their business and she is forced to change the name again, then that is disaster levels of catastrophe for her. Because you can rebrand once and people are like, oh, right, okay, this is a bit awkward. But if you rebrand twice, it just looks like it's going to look like a failure. And this is actually a window for her where she could finally launch something that is successful, that Americans want to buy. You know, Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop is successful, people like it. It's niche, you know, it's not probably for everybody, but people do regard it as a success. So it's an important moment for Meghan and one she'll want to get right. If this is now actually torpedoed by this New York fashion line, then she's in big,
You mentioned
big
about the New York fashion, or the New York shop, and we spoke to Mark Kolsky this week, and I think he posted that it was royally scandalous, the similarities between the names, but he's basically admitted that he's kind of powerless to do anything because Meghan's such a behemoth, you know, it's got Netflix backing. But Arthur, were you excited about the release of Meghan's video, a 70-second clip announcing that her new project is called As Ever?
Didn't even watch it. I mean, that's
Each trying to outmaneuver the other in influence, purpose, and public perception. Two brothers. One throne in waiting. One legacy shaken. There are whispers that this Cold War may be thawing. That behind the scenes, bridges are being rebuilt. But with so much history and hurt, will the public ever see true reconciliation? Or is the distance between Montecito and Kensington too great? What began as a tale of two duchesses has become a saga of fractured family, fractured crown. The world watches not just for gowns or pageantry, but for the human drama behind the monarchy's gilded mask. And the question remains, who wins when royalty rivals royalty?
so excited I was. Oh, I think this, she should do a bit of her homework before she does these things. I mean, she's already upset the small island of Mallorca by you know, ripping off their mask, their sign, and then now the mayor's upset about that, and he's threatening to take some legal action. So, you know, everything she's doing at the moment, she's doing it because she's not thought it through. As Jack said, she's not researched it. She's not decided if that's the right way to go. And certainly when you're naming it after other companies, that can't be that hard to find out.
Yeah.
Just go online and find out.
It's all been a bit of a mess. I mean, you pointed out that American Riviera Orchard, about a year ago, we had the announcement that was going to be the name.
Yes.
And then we had, I think last September, the Patent and Trademark offices raised some serious concerns about the name, but also the description of the products. But in that video that Arthur hasn't seen, but we unfortunately have had to watch several times, she almost paints that loss as a victory, where she says, well, I wanted to call it American Riviera Orchard, but because they said that we had to have things grown in a certain area, I actually want to go with As Ever, and she's moved on. She's got an amazing skill of kind of turning things round from a failure into saying, well, actually, this is a success.
Which is potentially no bad thing as long as it is a success. You know, that's the key thing. What happened with American Riviera Orchard was she launched it really early, too early, before it was ready, really. You know, in an ideal world, you'd probably get all the patent copyright stuff done and sorted before you actually do the soft launch. That way, you don't then have to retract it if you run into problems. I think probably what happened was she was scared that people like us were going to find it and we're going to report on it early, and she wanted to be in control of how she released it. But it's so early to release something that's basically just telling people you're going to make jam, which, you know, it's not exactly rocket science making jam. Jam tastes like jam. I'm sure it will be delicious jam. Most jam is. But to then have to wait a year and now we're on to our second soft launch and we still don't have any jam. Like how this jam now needs to be like the world's greatest ever jam. And unless all the other jam makers out there are missing something that Meghan's lighted on, it's just not going to live up to the really long wait for delivery. So she's saying now that we're probably going to get it in the spring. She's going to come up with something more. We're going to get probably the hard launch. So hopefully there'll be not just the jam, but a bunch of other things that people can actually buy, and she can move past this really awkward stage where she's trying to get it up and running, and actually she can then find out, apart from anything else, is this actually going to be a success, or is this going to be another project that gets launched, has a quick run, and then she has to move on and find something else?
Well, you mentioned that, and you look back through her CV. I mean, if you think Sussex Royal was up for a little bit of time, and then that was asked not to be used by the royal family. Archetypes had one series and then disappeared. The Tig that she's now, not using. Pearl, the show on Netflix, that Netflix didn't want to go ahead with that show, the cartoon show, the animated show. Working member of the royal family, that was something that wasn't successful for Meghan. I mean, there is a Arthur, there is a long list of failures that
And
Meghan has on her CV.
the podcast on Spotify,
Yeah.
that was another failure, yeah. So, yeah, she's good at failure.